Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to remind you before we get going, DAIXRP.com is the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button, the private group through below any of my YouTube videos, or you can hit subscribe on X. I want to hit this first. Today there was a article out in the Wall Street Journal about Linqto. There were some disturbing accusations. Since I'm under NDA, I haven't been able to talk about any of this stuff, but I can talk about my thoughts on a public article, and my thoughts are pretty simple. I'm a major investor in the Linqto SPVs. In this article, there's a lot of accusations about the Linqto. What was, I think, the Linqto chairman, Bill Saris, in here. If some of these accusations are true, it pisses me off just like it does many of you out there. I was not privy to the inner workings of the company ever, in terms of being copied on all these. They reference all kinds of like messages. I don't know what kind of messages they are, internal type stuff. But bottom line is this, is the article's got a lot of scary stuff in it, but I'm still in the camp where, I own a bunch of, I own Ripple shares. I'll tell you what I own. I own Ripple shares. I own Uphold shares. I own Linqto itself shares. I own Circle shares, and I don't think I have anything. I did have PolySign shares, but how that story. But anyway, I'm a heavy investor in the SPVs, and I'm still, even after the article, they've got the new CEO, Dan Scavino, I think I said his name right, in there, and I just think that I'm not worried about my shares and whether I will get my money as far as the appreciation and all that. How it will be done is the big question. Now, today, and here I wanted to show you, today John Deaton at 3 o'clock is doing a Linqto update, and that should fill me and everybody else in a little bit better. But I go back to this, folks, even though I see the article and all. This is David Schwartz replying to one of John Deaton's threads. He says, the legal entity that owns the shares that you own part of should not have exposure to Linqto going bankrupt, so a direct encumbrance on the shares to cover Linqto's debts shouldn't happen. But the entity may face operational challenges depending on exactly how it's structured. So, and I go back to this. This was Dan Scavino. Sorry, not Scavino. I'm sorry, Dan. Dan Siciliano. I don't know why I call him Scavino. This is what I'm more focused on, and I think this is where we'll go. I think that they'll resolve it in a hopefully a good way for Linqto shareholders like myself. Listen to what Dan said on stage at XRP Las Vegas, because this is an important 2 minutes.
Is Linqto, or was it a Ponzi scheme or rug pull or anything like that? We haven't got that.
No. So I think that's the number one question to answer, which should allow people to take a deep breath, which is
right. So that wasn't the problem. So that gives me some peace of mind. That wasn't the problem. But
Linqto should have done a lot of things better. Some things are a problem, some things are wrong. But one thing we can say with certainty, it's not a rug pull, it's not a Ponzi scheme. I wish we could have said that sooner and clearer than a couple of weeks ago when we could have that press release. We had to hire a third party, we had to have them go through this process, and they checked to make sure that when people put money in, that money actually went to and was associated in some way with actual holdings, shares, units, or other of the things that we all care about. Ripple, first and foremost, but SpaceX and Anthropic and everything else. It's all there.
All right, so I'm going to ask you directly.
So that, and by the way, that's all I care about. I'm not I'm not worried about. I don't care about all the innuendo and the different things people are saying with no information. What I care about is the investments of everybody on the platform, including myself, and I believe that it'll be resolved in at least a more favorable way than the way these these articles that they put out are. It's like it's fear by design almost is what it feels like. But there's more in this clip here that you need to hear.
People who invested in, like me, pre-IPO shares of Ripple, I have Kraken, I have Circle, BitPay, and a couple others.
You've done well.
My question is, on behalf of everyone there, I'm going to ask it from a customer's perspective, but it's coming from them. Is my money there and safe?
Yeah, your money's there, and it's as safe as, okay, I gotta throw out the lawyer. It's safe. But the lawyer is as safe as it always was, because this is a risky, okay. Yeah, get that.
Get some of the ground level
right here. So yes, that's safe. There's a mess of.
Okay, but the point is here, he acknowledged that the assets are there and they're safe, and I don't believe for 2 seconds that the SEC or whoever he's working with is not going to make sure that that's the top priority. So that's where I am on that. But I will say this: if anyone at Linqto, if any of those accusations in the article are true, and there's anything that was done that was illegal, then those people need to pay. I don't care who it is. Okay. XRP's at 220. We are things are heating up. Here are mine. Most recent odds on the spot crypto ETF approvals by the end of 2025. We expect a wave of new ETFs in the second half of 2025. XRP up. They've got a 95% chance of an XRP ETF. It's up there with, what do they have? Litecoin, Solana, XRP at 95%. Index is being approved at 95%. There's a grayscale index that's got XRP in it. Then this is an interesting, because this is from this Nate Garachi, president of the ETF store. While the Vanguard still blocking spot crypto ETFs on their brokerage platform, that position will grow more problematic as the additional spot crypto ETFs come to the market. Not to mention your biggest competitors welcoming crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum so far, open arms, untenable. I said it 5 to 7 years ago, and I'll say it again. Not some of Wall Street is coming in, all of Wall Street is coming in, and I'll include Vanguard. There's my prediction. Vanguard will be in the crypto business before it's over. You can't compete with all these people if you're not in the game. Here is Treasury Secretary. They're gearing up to it feels like to get rid of the Federal Reserve Chairman.
While we're talking about interest rates and the Federal Reserve, it has been recently reported that you might be in consideration for the job as the next Fed chair. When you've been asked about the likelihood recently, you said that it's up to the president. Is it a job that you would want?
I will do what the president wants, but I think I have the best job in D.C. We're making a lot of progress with the president's leadership. Think about it. We are going to have the tax bill on his desk by July 4th. We're going to be wrapping up the trade talks. So I think we've had great momentum, and we will be working on Chair Powell's successor over the coming weeks and months.
You had mentioned that an announcement could be as early as October or November, and Powell's term ends in May of 2026. How is
let me
the street supposed to navigate between that announcement time and the time between the term being over for Chair Powell? You were the one, I want to remind people, that had brought up the idea of a shadow Fed chair prior to the election. Is a new appointee supposed to be considered that shadow Fed chair?
Well, not necessarily. We'll see. There's a seat opening up, a 14-year seat opening up.
All right, we don't need to hear more than that. You get the point. Most major banks now expect the Fed to cut rates by 25 to 100 basis points starting as early as July, while a few still see no cuts in 2025. So here's what all the different banks are saying. At some point, it's coming. Ripple Bank does not sound so crazy anymore. USDC issuer Circle applies for National Trust Bank license in the U.S. Folks, the writing's on the wall now. And look at this from Circle CEO. Today we announced an important and significant milestone in our journey towards building the internet financial system with our official OCC National Trust Bank charter application for First National Digital Currency Bank. This should have been Ripple, folks, without all of the lawsuits and all the attacks and everything. The XRP Ledger EVM sidechain just went live. This could be huge, but exactly what is it? He's got a Dom from Easy A. He's got a thread. First backstory you see. I'll skip. Well, he's got videos on each. Let's play.
But right now, the XRP ledger at layer 1 is not really programmable. It has a complex set of fixed functions that include things like a DEX and NFTs. But if you want to do something that can't be done with the fixed functions today, you can't do it.
And then here's another clip.
I think that will be the go-to place for the sort of long tail of projects that need functionality that only they need, that they can't convince the world to build as a low level like layer 1 function, because it just doesn't. It's just not that kind of like a mainstream use case. So I think the EVM sidechain will cater to that.
And then he's got some good clips.
What is your overall vision, just at a macro level, for XRP Ledger playing with other ecosystems at a high level?
I think the future that I would most like to see, and the one that I think is realistic, is where the XRP ledger is the place where the liquidity is and where the sort of payments take place. But I think it's a hub in, an ecosystem with other hubs and multiple spokes where you don't have, let's say you're not super interested in payments. You're selling something, well, people still need to be able to buy it. You're doing loans. Well, people still need to be able to make payments on the loan, like payments. And if we're going to be in a multi-asset world, which we are, if anyone thinks one asset is going to take over the whole world, like it's in the far, far future. So we're going to need liquidity. We're going to need interoperability. All of those things are going to have to exist. The niche that I would like to see, like for the XRP ledger at layer 1, is that sort of payment and liquidity space. And if you look at like the feature set on the XRP ledger, that's where most of them are aimed. The DEX features, the issued asset features like escrow, payment channels, the AMM, and Pathfinder.
And then here's another one.
Do you potentially see a world where the EVM sidechain is the way that developers are attracted, and then they eventually filter down into the XRP ledger if it's really just payments or a couple of very specific use cases that they're focusing on, where maybe the EVM sidechain is like the top of funnel for the ecosystem?
I think that's definitely one top of funnel, and I think the reverse could happen too. So you could have people who are in the XRP ledger ecosystem and who have these long tail use cases that need smart contracts. And one of the nice things about the EVM sidechain is that, first of all, you can hire people who have EVM experience very easily. And if you want to learn a smart contracts platform, well, learning EVM is like industry standard. It's your gateway in. So I think you could definitely see that funnel working either way. I think that's one of the great things about the EVM sidechain is it does provide two funnels into the XRP ledger. And if the XRP ledger layer 1 is better for payments, better for liquidity, then I think it makes sense that those use cases will migrate there. So I think that's definitely, I could see the funnel sort of going either way. And I think both strategies make sense. And I think they're both ways that you could see the EVM sidechain as adding value to the XRP ledger and not just we also have an EVM compatible sidechain.
Oh, he's got some good ones.
You just mentioned a lot of people who are coming to the ecosystem. We have, these 80,000 developers who are learning about the EVM sidechain. A lot of developers who are going to be learning about the XRP ledger as well. What do you think is the best way for them to get started? From a personal viewpoint. For me, it would be go and check out the EasyA app, check out the EVM sidechain. I'm sure I know that there are a lot of really great documentations as well. People who are here, who are physically here in person as well, or who are maybe watching the recording afterwards. If they're just learning about the XRP ledger for the first time, what is your personal favorite for them just to go and check out, apart from watching all your videos?
So it's funny because I learn very differently from the way that most people do. And the source is the way that just for example, when I first started learning about Bitcoin, I learned by tearing into the code. And I took a particular coding challenge. There was a particular problem with the software at the time. And I said, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to learn my way around the code. That doesn't work. Reading specs probably doesn't work very well for other people. But I mean, there are a number of web pages, obviously, both about the XRP ledger, And obviously, if you want to learn about Ethereum virtual machine and smart contracts on it, and here's where I have to go to my list of shout outs.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there. We're gonna go into the group DAIXRP.com, or if you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button right below this YouTube video. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.